All right, we're live.
Perfect. Well, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are, and welcome to the second seminar in our May producer seminar series. We're really happy that we can be joining together through the magic of the internet today and sharing information. And this initiative really on the part of Atlas is a recognition that there have been historic imbalances in access to important information and resources for coffee producers around the world. And we realized as Atlas, this is something we have resources to address. And this is an expression of Atlas's desire and commitment to the success and the flourishing of coffee producers around the world, especially our long-held relationships. And there's also a hope here that we can more and more build a global community of coffee producers that can share information among themselves. Just some logistics today. During the discussion, keep yourself muted during the presentation, and if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And then after our guest today has finished the presentation, we will have time for questions and discussion at the end. And without further ado, we really want to welcome Fabrício Andrade. Fabrício is a coffee producer, works in coffee production in Brazil with an organization called San Coffee that has been a partner with Atlas for many, many years. And they work in the region of Minas Gerais in Brazil. And the organization is a group of coffee producers who works together to market and export and assist each other in the production of coffee. So we're really grateful to have Fabrício here and all the expertise that he brings and is willing to share. And with that, I'll hand the mic to you, Fabrício. Welcome.
Hi, Drew, and thank you for the introduction. Actually, firstly, I'd like to say thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure being here to share a little bit of what we do at Sun Coffee with other producers and friends in Atlas. As Drew said, it's not only a business relationship we have with Atlas, but a friendship that has lasted for more than 10 years now. And we are very happy of always being able to be alongside Atlas in all the projects. And these seminars are very nice. In person, I deeply believe in the necessity of these networks for exchanging information and knowledge among producers. It can be regional. It can be like Sun Coffee, a group of producers. It works like a network of growers exchanging resources, but also information and knowledge. And it can be also global, like Atlas is doing right now, sharing this content with other producers in the world. I joined Endeavor from SCA once. Unfortunately, it hasn't taken off yet, which is the Producers Guild. I would love to see it taking place anywhere in the future, because I deeply believe it can bring a lot of benefits to the growers. So congratulations also, Drew, for doing your part as Atlas while joining these growers together and exchanging information. So also thanks to Jeff for supporting us today here with moderating and with the tool of the broadcasting this presentation. I am Fabrício. I will share my screen right now, and there are a couple of things there. And when Drew asked me to talk a little bit about efficiency, insights for coffee processing, coffee harvesting and farming, I started to think about how could I do this presentation in a way that it would be useful for growers in other places in the world who would be watching it alive or later on in the video, recorded video. And I came to realize that I figured out that it would be more useful if I shared something more generic, that was not something only specific of Brazil, but also something that could change the way people see coffee production, coffee farming, coffee harvesting, and processing in general. They are uh, in coffee business category. And I believe there are many of you in the audience that have seen, read, or studied this kind of information. But we have been, it was many of these things that we'll be talking here for me, and it was life-changing books that I read, people that I met along my life, and taught me interesting things through my daily routine at Sun Coffee with our teammates. We have learned a lot how to manage more effectively the business, and it's been enhancing the efficiency in all aspects. So I will be sharing this framework, this understanding that we have for how to set up business, how to bring everybody together, and how to make sure everybody, every single piece will be working together in a way to drive efficient results, and even more important in the long term. So afterwards, it will be my pleasure to share more, to tell a little bit more examples of how to implement these kind of tools. And feel free to send uh, any questions that you would like to place along the way, or even in the end of the presentation. Firstly, I'd like to share a little bit of what Sun Coffee is. Sun Coffee is a cooperative with only with only 20 members, and we also work with plus 157 small coffee producers in a project we call Beyond Our Borders. And this project started in 2013 with the great support of Atlas, because Atlas was the first one who joined forces with us, who motivated these growers to do high quality coffees in a consistent way, to participate in an auction. And Atlas purchased all the bags that they produced, over 82 point coffee, back in 2013. And it was only 100-ish bags. And this program grew and grew further. And now we are with 157 small growers. And we exported in 2020, 2021, almost 6,000 bags of these small coffee producers. And it's nice that we are able to provide the same service business model and under the same scheme that we do to our own members, to these small coffee producers. It's a project that we love, and thank you, Atlas, for the support while creating that. And since 2000, Sun Coffee has been producing high quality coffees and exporting it directly. This is the main operation of Sun Coffee. 2020, 2021 crop cycle, we received in our warehouse from our members and the small coffee producers 189,000 bags, and we exported directly 56,000 bags. They are those that we consider to be specialties, above 82 points. The remaining ones we sell to domestic brokers and to major exporters, who in the end would be exporting it without using our brand. It's like big blend coffees like Santos and Fine Cups and Good Cups and so on. Our business model is based on responsible farming. We are trying to improve farming all the time with our growers. Long-term relationships with clients like Atlas and others that have been supporting us, but also with our coworkers and our growers, because this business model works. The major part of it's due to the trust that we build along the way, and prosperity oriented, because we deeply believe good business is and are the best way to convey prosperity, sustainability, and pride in a good sense to those that grow coffee here in Brazil and other origins. Technology, the services that we try to provide to these growers is technology extension in partnership with research institutes, universities, and many partners that we help us while creating and sharing information and knowledge. QC, we have a good and well set QC lab with 3 Q graders that have been working with us for a long time now. One of them, João Marcos, is with us since the beginning, 20 years now, 21 years now working with Sun Coffee. And he learned a lot also with this partnership with Atlas, because he spent, I believe, 5 months living in Seattle and learning how to cup and how to do quality control in Atlas quality control lab. And we start these procedures at the farm level in a way to provide real-time feedback to these growers while adjusting their operation and trying to deliver good coffees consistently to our warehouse. We also provide warehousing, business development. It's the relationship that we build to sell these coffees directly. It includes relationship by itself, it includes marketing, it includes sales, and it includes afterwards the exports with logistics, traffic, paperwork, and so on. And we have been also able to, due to the partnership with our finance partners like banks, to provide finance and risk mitigation tools to our growers. And in the end, the main results at Sun Coffee that we seek are to bring back value addition and recognition to our growers, because we believe that these 2 variables, they can address sustainability issues like bringing more young generation to coffee production, and also to make the business viable, and these growers can work in other aspects or other dimensions of sustainability. Myself, Fabrício, very briefly, I started as a general manager of Sun Coffee in 2014. I've been working there full time. I am also a coffee producer. My father is a small coffee grower, and I got lucky because my mother is also a high school teacher, and it was a good balance between working and studying. I was lucky to be accepted in Federal University of Lavras 3 times in my life. I spent there from 2003 to 2017, working at the same time and learning a lot of things and meeting and getting to know great people along the way who helped me a lot, my advisors and friends and so on. But I am an agronomist in this university. I did my master's degree in supply chain management also in this university. And afterwards, when I got to know Sun Coffee and Samambaia Farm, alongside Henrique Cambraia, our president and one of the founders, I got to know the specialty coffee segment, and I fell in love with that, and I decided to try to get back to the university and to learn a little bit more about coffee quality and processing. And I was accepted there to work with Professor Flávio Borém, who also helped me a lot while understanding coffee quality and processing methods. Here is a couple of starting the presentation, the main content. I read a book once from Brazilian consultant who spent many years in Japan and learned how to do and to work with total quality control and management system, Toyota, and so on. And it was for me a life-changing book because it provided, not only for me, but I believe for many people in Brazil and in the world, a tool in which we could navigate the management of any company. And this book is in Portuguese, it's Verdadeiro Poder, and in English it's called The True Power. And the meaning of it, I believe the author tried to provide that idea that these three things are the true power of any management that want to achieve great results. And it's nice to see these two and these concepts, these framework, and also the other ones that I will be talking about. One, it was a book written by an American. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. But what's interesting about these tools, these mindsets, these theories, is that they are applicable to big companies in which these guys have worked for their entire life, but it also works for medium-sized companies like Sun Coffee, and it also works for small operations, like, for example, my family's coffee farm, and that's very interesting. The first factor is leadership, and by leadership we don't mean by motivating people. We mean the author mean do not accept bad results, are always uncomfortable with that, to be always uncomfortable with that, and to proactively react to change the means, the pathway, aiming the results that were planned before, and engage and align the entire organization with the results. That's the leadership, the meaning of leadership that Vicente Falcone bring in his book. And the method, it's another factor for great results, according to this author. And by method, I brought a condensation of Vicente Falcone and another American author, which is John Doerr. I read a book of him called Measure What Matters, and it's also a life-changing book, at least for me. And OKR, which stands for Objectives and Key Results, which is a tool, according to the author, and the method, PDCA, which is plan, do, check, and act, to correct or to standardize the procedure and the plan. But in the farm, not only in the farm, but I'll talk about the farm because it's the environment that I use too. Every single tool, every single knowledge, it needs to be simple. Otherwise, we are not able to implement effectively. So everything that we are doing here, we are trying to do it simply. And knowledge, continuous learning, not only because the world is changing very fast, but because we need to be inputting knowledge in our life, in our businesses all the time, in order to create better plans of action. And by learning, I mean not only theoretical, but also practical. We need to have, for example, the managers at the farm, the managers at the warehouse, we are always trying to get people who are local, who have worked in all the we provide opportunities for them to work in all the segments, in all the sectors of the business. They are hands-on and they also study. So we believe that's a good combination of knowledge, practical and theoretical. The OKRs, they work in a way that, for many reasons, but I brought a couple of them. They make it possible for us to focus on important results. They encourage challenging goals to be set. In the book, he calls it the moonshots, and facilitates alignment throughout the company, forces transparency, which builds trust and creates accountability, improves collaboration between teams and breaks down silos, and improves management control without being controlling. I believe many of you who is listening to that have experienced this feeling of implementing the OKRs with a team, whether it's big or small, and suddenly this tool bring everybody, all the anxieties, the entropy surrounding the organization to an end, brings everybody to work in aligned way and joining forces to bring the results that were planned. Of course, it's always easier to say than to do, but always easier said than done, but it's very effective. And here's the combination of them. The objectives in the peak of the pyramid, they are the directions where we decided to go. The key results are the intermediary results that we need to achieve to reach the objectives. And the plans of actions are the plans that we need to set to make the operation, the structure, and the people accountable and to have timing to do things that are necessary. And the cycle of plan, do, check, and act correctively if necessary. This is very nice because we need to keep ourselves always checking and verifying each other, because it's not only with the leaders, it's with the workers and at the warehouse or at the farm, but also the owners. Everybody needs to be brought to the reality and to avoid the blind spots, to avoid the comfort zone. And I read a book that it's called Setting the Table. It's a very nice book about hospitality. And this author, he says that he gives an example about the salt shaker that he was speaking to a mentor of him, and the mentor of him asked him, "Hey, bring the salt shaker to the center of the table." And once he did it, the mentor brought it to the edge of the table, and afterwards he put it back to the center, and the mentor pushed it back to the edge of the table. And the author asked to the mentor, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he said, "That's the main responsibility of a leader. You need always to be bringing the salt shaker to the center of the table." And it's about the procedures, it's about the objectives, it's about the key results, and it's mainly about the philosophy, the culture that we need to bring people together to work very cohesively toward common objectives. And that brings me to this slide, because in America, people are very disciplined while setting up businesses with a strategic plan. There are many methods, many mindsets about that. But here in Brazil, when I started and talk about strategic plan, vision, mission, and so on, people felt like this was unnecessary, something that didn't bring any value, real value to the business. And I completely disagree now. And with that, it doesn't matter the size of the business, because the strategic plan, like the vision, where we want to be, the reason why we exist, the mission, how we are going to achieve this vision, the ethics, those behavior and those mindsets that we don't negotiate, they are very important for us. The stakeholders' needs in order to create solutions through our business and to deliver value and to bring the value proposition very clearly to everybody involved. This is, I believe, the glue that bring everybody together and bring everybody to engage and to work in a mission together without being commanded. Usually we work when we have our clear vision and mission, and of course we agree with that and we feel part of that. We work without being commended, but we do what's necessary, but because we want, not because it's an order. That's the idea behind that. And once we talk about these philosophies, these more abstract things, but they really drives the daily basis of the company, we start to attract people that feel comfortable and that believe in the same things that we do, and this makes things to start to move almost automatically. And bringing that back to coffee now, the macro results that we believe they are key to coffee production businesses. Quality, price, of course, and cost. And by cost, I mean how much resources there is in each bag or each pound of coffee produced. It's the cost per unit. And cash flow, because sometimes we are with the river is full of water, sometimes the river is in low capacity, and we need to be wise enough to manage cash flow along the way in order to make the business operating. And the plans of actions to be a framework, schedule for us to work on those important things to make the business to achieve the key results and afterwards the objectives. Usually they come with 5 W and 2 H, what, why, where, when, who, how much. We usually, in our operation, we work with only 3 W's and 1 H is what, when, and who, and of course, how much, but there are many variants that also work. And here is in which dimensions we should think and create these plans of actions. In hardware, in the structure that we have, how many square foot we need for patios, how many pickers we need, how many tractors, and so forth. Software, they are the procedures that we implement to make the procedures and the operation more stable and more consistently aligned with the results, the checkpoints and so on, the accountabilities and so forth. And it's in the larger picture, it's the humanware, people. It's Enrique Cambraia. He has a very interesting, he's the president of Sun Coffee. He has an interesting, I don't know the word in English, but kind of a picture for how important humans and our co-workers, people are. Because according to him, we are those, the leaders are those who are pulling forward the cart. And when we have in the company a lot of engaged people, people that are proactive, people that are always seeking to be better, to contribute to the company, that are feeling part of it, that are feeling positively about that, we have round shape wheels. And when we don't have these kind of people, our company are those carts with square shaped wheels. It goes further, but demands a lot of energy. So it's key importance for us. And again, we are looking after people who believe in the business model we have, in the vision we have, people that are born in not only in the region, but in the countryside, who values it, who feels honored about that, who have worked in something in their life hardly, and people that kind of studied and look after acquiring knowledge. So these are the combinations we believe. So here, an example of the implementation of the tool, the OKR, for the operational manager. 4 objectives for these manager in Samambaia farm, where I also I am the general manager. Also, we have our operational manager, Gil. She will be appearing in the pictures later on, because she's been doing a great job while working with these OKRs and the PDCA and plans of actions. Here is an example, but they are similar to what we do in reality in our daily basis. So the first one, considering the four objectives we have for coffee, the average farm gate price at 110 per pound, and someone can start to think about that and say, oh, Fabrizio, it's easy because New York C market is now at 150, and it's not that a challenge. And I say, yeah, that it's not. But here in Brazil, the countryside, the farm gate price for mainstream coffee, it's discounted against New York, and it's not for a small margin, it's a big one. And the second thing is that there are many fluctuations along the way. And when we think about coffee business, we need to think about long term. So if we are able to, through management and of course a bit of luck and help from supporters and partners, we are able to have at least scenario, midterm scenario, 110 per pound farm gate price. It's something that it's good, average speaking, because we produce good coffees, bad coffees, and so on. But here's an example. And this is the objective, and the key result would be one of them: forward contracts at 40% minus 10% per year rule. This is something very specific for, not very, but I believe it's specific for a couple of origins, because here in Brazil, for example, there are major exporters and banks and players that provide growers and cooperatives the opportunity for the growers to make forward contracts and deliver it in the future and receive the money in the payment back in the future. We call it forward contracts with delivery to the buyer warehouse. And a rule of thumb of that for that is, there are many reasons for that, but it's to be committed with only 40% in the shorter term, the shortest term, which is the upcoming harvest, and to reduce the percentage of the potential crop in years to come 10 percentage points per year ahead, because there are too much risks and uncertainty in the future, and it's not wise to be committed with something that we don't know if we will be able to produce at that level of costs. And there are some people that say that only in the specialty segment in the added value segment, we need to have well-established relationships. And in the mainstream and commodity coffees, they are not necessary. Again, I disagree, not only with the buyers, but also with the suppliers. We need to be able to, we must seek to be able to have partners with whom to do business with. And buyers for these kind of forward contracts are the same. We can talk about the reasons why later on, but we need to develop, I put it here, at least 3 of these relationships that we can submit samples and we can approach when we would like to make these kind of businesses. The second objective is cost, and I put it here, $1 per pound. In the long term, these are operational costs. And to have it, we need to be able to do around an yield of 35 bags per hectare, which is quite a challenging key result for coffee producing areas that does not use irrigation. And the second key result that I used as an example is to have working costs like labor, fertilizers, inputs, and machinery, not considering structure and capital. Quality, to have it's a good outcome. It's a good objective. 70% coffees is scoring 80 over 82 points, and the key results to achieve that: finish harvest up to September. Of course, I am talking about Brazil, because when we are not able to do so, to finish it within August, we start to have bad fermentations of the cherries at the tree, in the trees. The cherries start to fall in the ground and we lose quality and so on. Arrival lots at post-harvest facility with max 10% immature cherries. So we need to adjust the machines that we are using for the harvest. We need to select and to choose the coffee plots that have that are more suitable to this kind of outcome, and we need to keep all the time adjusting and running the PDCA to achieve these results. And the third one is max 12% of cherries falling from the machine into the ground. And another one is about drying ratio, drying method, which is for naturals around 12 days drying at the patios and plus 45 hours dryer machines. And another one for those like ourselves to produce microlots, we also make plans for this kind of outcome. 10 microlots scoring over 88 points. And the key results for that I added here are: select 5 high altitude, even maturation, high potential variety. So we can go there and to do selectively hand picking, and we can invest more money because it has more potential to yield a coffee with 88 points. Hand picking daily 1,500 liters of mature cherries, bricks minimum at 27 degrees. This size, the 1,500 liters, is because we need this batch size to handle it more effectively through the drying process. And to dry the cherries on the raised beds for 27 days, it's something that we also monitor and we take actions over it. So this is a framework as I used as an example. And of course, we create these plans of actions way in advance. We communicate to everybody. We create the plan of actions and we check the points with the people in charge of that all the time, not only in the office, but also in the field, because it's very important. And we take measures of these, the procedures and the outcomes of each key result, and we act on them usually weekly or sometimes daily to bring the procedures and the operation back to the position where it's aligned with the outcomes that we planned before. It seems complicated, but it spares a lot of work and troubles and headaches. And what's interesting about the OKRs, the tools, is that the operational manager objective, key results, turning to be someone else objective. And this someone else, who is, for example, in this example, the harvest leader, the key result of the manager turning to be his or her objective, and we set up the key results that this leader needs to achieve in order to, if these key results are achieved, the harvest leader objective will be achieved, and it will equal one key result of the operational manager key result achieved, which would likely lead to the operational manager objective to be achieved. So it's a cascade of objectives and key results. So here's the example: to finish the harvest up to September, turning to be the objective of the harvest leader. And the key results would be this one we check daily. It's true. Accomplished daily, it's real data. Accomplished daily 7.5 working hours per harvester machine. weekly land coverage at 15 hectares per harvester machine, and minimum of 50 pickers daily in the manual harvesting fields. These are the examples of Samambaia farm. And these key results, the first one turning to be the objective of the harvester operator. Accomplish daily 7.5 working hours per harvester machine. We need to do the maintenance at night because otherwise the machine would be stuck into the maintenance garage without doing the harvest. And 2 trucks, we need to have per harvester machine at least two trucks, so the machine doesn't stay stuck without harvesting while there are loading and unloading process. Of course, it depends on how far away from the harvest point the post-harvest facility is. And here it's the one example of the PDCA method being undertaken at the field by Daniela, this young lady with black hair. She's been a great leader, and I am happy to have her on the team and been working with her since 2017, when she used to be my colleague at my PhD, and she was at the major level in agronomics as well. Talking with the leaders, talking with the growers, discussing about the conditions of the coffee trees, and also training sessions, sharing with our staff, our co-workers, everything that we spoke about, from the strategic plan to the OKRs and to the necessity of everybody to work aligned and engaged toward common results. And of course, there are the meetings, the formal ones with reports and so on. Here in the above top of the screen table, you can see weekly results for each harvester machine. And here are the average working hour for each machine in the week 1. As you can see, 9.2, 5.1, 7, 4.9. And the week 2, the average here, media means average, 4.4, 4.2, and we reached 5.6, 5.7, 5.6, 6.1, and 7. And this is a characteristic of a good OKR tool, because as you saw in our OKR, it's out of 12 available hours of work, our machines can work 4, average speaking, to 7, like it was last year. But we have our OKR, our target to achieve 7.5, because it brings efficiency. If we go from 4 to 7, it's almost 50%, which means that we do the same work with the half of machines, and it saves a lot of resources. So these is a kind, for us, it was a moonshot OKR, because it was highly difficult for us to have our machines working more than 5 hours per day. And in the end of the harvest last year, we achieved 7. And this week, the first week of the harvest in Samambaia farm, this year, 2021, our first meeting with this table, we got a great result by managing, by setting specific and accurate plans of actions, engaging everybody, working on structure, procedure, and people. We managed to achieve this week 9 working hours, average speaking, by our machines. It's a great result. We learned a lot from last year, and we implemented many improvements this year. And the second table is the schedule, the calendar for the harvest, and we monitor it weekly basis, so we understand if we are about to finish the harvest, the entire harvest within August. So if by the along the way we figured out that this target was not to be achieved, we need to act like hiring more people or renting more machines and so on. So we speed up we change the means to achieve the goal, because the goal we must avoid changing it, because there are always ways, feasible ways to change the means and keep the results intact. Atlas Coffee Importers, great partners. Thank you for being alongside us along this time, more than 10 years now. We feel honored and highly happy, and you can count on us for everything you need here in Brazil. And thanks for the audience, and I'll be available now for any questions that eventually you guys have.
Thank you, Fabricio. That was great. Yes, as he said, this is the time for questions and discussions. Anything that you didn't understand, anything that you would like to know more about, or how it could apply to your situation, now's a good time.
Hi, Drew. I told you that I would be doing my presentation within 30 minutes, but as usual, once I, I talk a lot, I spend more time. Sorry for that.
That's great. I mean, it's more opportunity for us to listen and to learn.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So any questions out there today? Well, I'll ask, we spent some time talking about setting goals and coming up with the operational key results that will get you there. But can you talk us through a little bit more for a lot of us have goals for our companies and our coffee production or whatever the business is that we're doing, whether we've defined them clearly or not. But can you talk to us more about how to come up with methods for checking so that we can measure that we've met a goal? I think sometimes that's the harder part than actually developing the goals themselves.
Yeah, and we need to be careful because while taking measures and creating systems to control and to store data very carefully, otherwise we create a lot of bureaucracy, we increase costs, and we don't use effectively the outcomes of this control. Hydril, at Sankofi, we have been using more software automation and so on, because there are many growers. The traceability database is huge, and there are shipments going out all the time. There are many payments, finance tools, and so on. But at the farm, to be honest, this year, Samambaia is a big farm. This year, we implemented a integrated software to check and to control these variables. But at the beginning, it used to be more in the paper and books and Excel or any tool for data controlling. But it works. It's difficult. It takes time to create this framework and also to think about which variables to measure and how to measure, how to store data, and how to interpret these data. It's not easy. As I said, it's easier to read, easy to understand, but harder to implement. But the thing is, this short book was also a life-changing for me, because this one, Time management from Harvard Business Review, and it's very easy to understand. And there are the important and the urgent things. And when we don't have a framework to work and we don't use any method, we are always doing urgent stuff. But the important ones, which are deeply connected to the objectives and key results, we postpone them, and eventually they come up with as an urgent matter, like unsatisfied co-workers, a high turnover, results that never comes. We are always hoping for the best in the future. So it was something that I learned in a hard way, because I used to be always running after urgent matters without paying attention in the important ones, which are to create this framework, to hire, to coach, to mentor, and to help people implementing their own framework. Nowadays, I am lucky because I also got my good mentors like Henrique to caught my attention about that. And I've been spending more time while crafting this framework and coaching these people with whom we have been working, because it spares a lot of waste of time from us, and it creates a way more smooth procedure along the way. And as I said, I know from my father, he's a small coffee grower who his office usually is his car drawer used to be, and no control, no plan, and everything. He used to be always exhausted, always frustrated, and because there was no framework, no guidelines for him to perform their daily routines. So I deeply believe it can be some kind of naive, but I deeply believe that this is the way forward for anyone who wants to have a good life. Good work-life balance, is to try to implement this kind of framework to seek the results.
Thanks, Fabricio. Do we have any other questions?
We do. We have one in the chat here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is from Saiwan, who is in Myanmar, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah, great. So the question has to do with irrigation. The first part is, do you irrigate your coffees at San Coffee Farm in Brazil? And then the second part of it is, she would like to know, what is the difference in yield between irrigated or non-irrigated coffees?
Hey, Saiwan. It's a great question. Actually, it's nowadays it's under one of our key results for the operational management at Samambaia Farm, because it's been tough to go over 40-60 kilo bags per hectare, average speaking, for crops, because in Brazil, for example, it's 30-ish. The average. So we achieved a plateau at close to 40, and it's been difficult for us to reach over than that. And because if the weather conditions were always stable and under historical data, like rainfall, temperature, and so on, we would not need irrigation. But it's been very volatile everywhere in the world due to climate change and so on. And we decided to start to think about irrigation to create this new key result, which is to go over 40 bags per hectare. And now we are working on the plans of actions like quotations, projects, and so on to implement that, because we deeply believe that with irrigation in our conditions for Arabica coffee varieties we have, it's possible to, average speaking, to go to increase 40% in the long period average the yields of Arabica coffee plantations. And at Sun Coffee, still we are lagging behind that because there are only, among the 20 farms, there are only 3 farms that use irrigation consistently. I hope I answered to your question.
Yes. Thank you, Fabricio.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question, Saiwan.
Thank you.
Other questions from people who are gathered here today?
We have another question here in the chat, and this one is from Bakanzo Joint in Uganda. It says, we would like to know more about factors of great results. Not sure if they're what the results are. Can you specify what results you're talking about? Maybe they're talking about the yield?
Actually,
the question just says, we would like to know more about factors of great results.
Yeah. According to the book I read a couple of years ago from Vicente Falcone, he's one of the gurus of management here in Brazil. It's not possible to achieve consistently, and it means 10 years time, 20 years time, good results without having leadership inside your company, which is not motivating people to do things. It's about does not accept bad results, to be always uncomfortable with them, proactively react to change the means, aiming the results previously planned, and to engage and align the entire organization with the results. These are the characteristics of a good leadership, according to this author. And the other factor for great results is the use with discipline of the method. And I brought here 2 examples, the PDCA and the OKR, which are one method and one tool. And I added from our own experience the necessity of being simple while implementing these methods for management. And the last one is continuous learning under another factor of knowledge, according to this author. And this learning needs to be theoretical, but also practical, because we need to be creating plans of actions and solutions that they fit together in practical terms. So practical learning and also theoretical learning. According to this author, these are the factors for great results.
One question that I have, and I was thinking about this as a result of Saiwan's question about irrigation, is can you talk to us a little bit about the impact of climate change on how important it is to be doing this kind of planning and thinking about efficiency in everything we do in coffee production?
Hey, Drew. It's a great question, because I believe nowadays the skepticism about climate change has almost gone away, because everybody's, in a sense, feeling it in their daily lives. And since the Green Revolution that started in 1970s, the agriculture has been mainly focused in inputs, machinery, and so on. It was good, it worked, but nowadays we need to rethink everything about agriculture, the way that we do things, the entire supply chain, the research institutes, the banks, the governments, the producers, the input producers, and so on, because we need to change the mindset a little bit. Not only we need to be focused in the yields and the costs, but we need to be also focused on preserving the results and using them more efficiently, because nowadays it's clear for everybody that all these results that we depend on, they are not unlimited, and they are scarce ones, and it's mandatory from now on to the future to have to use these resources more efficiently, not only for coffee production but for other agricultural products as well, we believe.
Well, thank you. Is there any last questions from our audience before we close here today?
So far, nothing in the chat.
All right. Well, Fabricio, we're really grateful to you for showing up today and sharing with us. I appreciated it, and I know that our audience did as well. This is definitely the kind of sharing that I think can move us all forward. So thank you. And thank you to all of our audience today who showed up live, and to those who are listening as a recording. We wish you well, and we'll see you next week at the same time.
Thank you, Drew, and to all the audience, and also Jeff, who helped us with the questions. Whenever you need myself for any help, just let me know. It's a pleasure to serve you guys at Atlas. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.